Hello there. I want to talk about social dynamics. We are living certainly in a time of incredible dynamic. We see action everywhere, a lot of enthusiasm. We see the media excited. We see the kids excited. We see stuff happening that is pretty shocking in the sense that things are going to change. Okay, great. Societies do have dynamics. They change. Question is the change going to be good or is it going to be destructive? That requires some insights into the idea of social dynamics. And I'm not so sure that those who are pushing for all this activity have themselves anything other than just a very shallow but quite passionate understanding of social dynamics. So that's what I wanted to at least introduce as an idea, because I will be talking about that all the time. Social dynamics. So I have a number of points. The first one being, societies don't have any real material existence. They don't exist like trees or mountains or lakes. They don't exist like lions and bears, and they don't even exist like people, you and me. They exist only as ideas, as understandings of life. And yet, as such, they're very real. They are so real, in fact, that they have made human society and the people that belong to society the dominant creatures of the earth. We are powerfully powerful when we're social creatures. So individually, we have the worst eyesight, the worst hearing, the worst physical body strength, but boy, put us together in society, and we are overwhelming. The question is, if we're just ideas, if we're just understandings, then what is it that makes it real? Well, we do have material things that try to give expression, symbolic expression to those ideas. We have flags, we have monuments, we have days of festivities, we have memorial days for people who put the society together in earlier times. Those are efforts to try to give some reality. And of course, if you want to bring down a society, those are exactly the things you want to bring down about that society. You want to destroy its symbols, its national anthems, its flags and such. And we're seeing some of that because social destruction is what we seem to be after. The only problem is what's going to replace that destruction. I'm well aware of one fact that I repeat constantly. It only takes minutes and virtually no cost at all to burn a house down. It's kind of exciting to see an old house. It's vacant. Nobody's lived there, and it's just, and bring it to the ground. To replace it, that's going to take time and a lot of expense and a lot of effort. Something that comes down in a second was going to take some good time. And I'm talking also about America's inner cities that have been burned to the ground. Do we have any understanding when we applaud this destruction because it's going to bring down the bad and it's going to automatically replace it with something instinctively better? Very indicative to me. We really don't know what we're talking about. I see that when we invade countries. America thinks it's doing the Vietnamese a great favor. They weren't invited. The Buddhists didn't invite them to come and bring American-style government. They, in fact, were burning themselves in the streets because they didn't like the French westernization of their society. And no, they weren't pro-communist, but they weren't pro-American either. And boy, weren't we surprised when we got to Vietnam to find out we didn't have the enthusiastic support of the South Vietnamese against communism, because that's our thinking. That's what our understanding. That wasn't theirs. We never even thought about that. And when Bush decided to invade Iraq, he thinks automatically, by toppling the Saddam Hussein's dictatorship, that the Iraqis are going to rise up in great favor because we brought them democracy. And in fact, what happens is the Sunnis, who used to dominate, now find themselves under the threat of Shiite domination. These are two Muslim groups that hate each other, much like the Protestants and the Catholics did in the 1500s and 1600s. They hate each other. And then there are the Kurds in the north, who aren't even Arab, who want out of the deal. So all we did was destroy a society, and voila, the carnage and the destruction that came with it. Did we learn from that? Did we learn from Vietnam? No, we're off doing the same thing to Syria. Mr. Assad is a dictator. He's got to go. So we support a group that's going to overthrow him. And what we see in Syria, millions of people, their lives completely torn to pieces, having to flee to other countries to live in refugee camps because we came to, quote unquote, help them. Libya, same thing. Get rid of the dictator who's holding the eastern, which is one ethnic group, against the western, which is another ethnic group of Libyans who've never gotten along with each other. Benghazis and the Tripolitanas. He's held them together, and we've toppled them, and now they're involved in a civil war. And guess what? It blows up in our face, and we lose our ambassador. But to the people we thought we were helping, the Benghazis. What is it with us? Why do we not understand that society is a precious item that comes as a set of ideas through careful nurturing over many generations of tried and true ancestors who have learned and have wisely passed on to the following generations the wisdom through their narrative? That's what holds societies together, not bright ideas of overthrowing things and expecting instinct of some kind to replace it. Think of ancient times, really ancient times. Primitive people sitting around a campfire, telling stories, narratives of ancient ancestors who, great heroes, brought their society forward. And the lessons that they learned about who they were and their own importance and how they were to go at life. Think of the ancient Jews, carted off as prisoners to Babylon. No more temple, no more priests to conduct their worship to their God Yahweh. They reinvent themselves around their narrative. They have those ancient stories collected and under the guidance of not priests, but teachers, that is, rabbis. They congregate weekly, wherever they are, no temple needed, and go over those narratives. They're called sermons today, with commentaries and lessons that are learned. And that's what defines the Jews, so that they can live now anywhere on the earth as long as that narrative is still intact. And they pass that same understanding on to the world of Christianity. Yeah, we have our churches. Yes, we have our altars. Yes, we have our priests and pastors. But the fact of the matter is, Christianity is built on storyline that instructs and teaches. And that's how early America, at least in the northern part of the country, New England and the middle colonies, was formed, was around that narrative. Well, I can't answer all of these items today, but you get the general idea of where I want to go with all of this. Is, folks, we need some wisdom. We need some understanding. We need some experience. Say, what? But Doc, didn't the Americans have their own revolution too? Didn't revolution? You're talking about what people call the Revolutionary War, which I call the War of Independence? It's no revolution. Well, it was in the sense that King George III wanted to revolutionize society by taking away our independence and forcing us back as subject under his total domination. And we said, no, we're not going to do that. We have 150 years of experience in self-rule, and we're going to protect and keep that. We weren't revolutionaries. He was trying to be revolutionary. We were just protecting what was. And we had that reconfirmed soon thereafter in the Constitution, which was simply set up to guarantee that the people's understandings, the people's wisdom would be protected from other dictators like him. There would be no central power that would take away the people's freedom of religion and speech and press and assembly, starting with religion. The most important of all fundamental understandings to a society is worldview and how it understands what makes things work the way they do. You do not overthrow those and expect a society to survive. Anyway, I have a lot more to say about this in the future, revolutions and politics, but especially American history and all of its lessons. So I hope you'll stay tuned, and we will grow in this little effort to bring some wisdom to America's doings. Have a great day.